It's high time for another edition of the Michael McLean Punch Drunk Tomato Can Olympics. I have a story for you today that is going to warm your cold, dark, entrepreneurial heart. I had a phone call yesterday, a scheduled phone call. I don't have any other types of phone calls. I've been purposely scheduling my phone calls for the last 18 years. I don't carry this broken iPhone that I'm shooting this video on. I don't carry a phone, so I certainly don't take any unscheduled phone calls. So yesterday I had something which is very rare, which was a scheduled phone call for 12 p.m. Eastern. And the phone call was about a potential deal that I had been interested in for the last 5 years. It was a deal to purchase a Junior A hockey team, a franchise. As you may or may not know, I have previously owned 2 hockey teams. These are junior hockey franchises. They are, it's serious hockey business. It's when you buy a junior team like this, a franchise like this, the athletes are excellent blue chip players, ages 16 to 21. These players are, a lot of them, the majority are trying to get U.S. scholarship Division I scholarships. They're serious student athletes, and it's a big budget. My budget with my other teams was anywhere from $1 million to $750,000 per year. So it's not it's not pro, but it's serious in terms of amateur sport. So I've owned my own 2 teams before, and I've had the time of my life being the owner, the president, the general manager, the head coach, washing jerseys, working out, training in the gym with the players, running the practices. You're the nutritionist. You're everything. You're the Jack and Jill of everything, and it's really, you have to have a passion for it, like any other entrepreneurial venture. So this is a team that's near and dear to my heart, and I've been speaking with the owner over the last 3 years about potentially purchasing the franchise when he was ready to sell. Now, my priority now is number one. My priority is a father to my 11-year-old daughter. I coach Emery skating. I've coached her hockey teams in the past few years. That's where my priorities. That's why I sold my last hockey team back in 2017 or 19 when we won the Barclay Cup. As soon as we won the league championship, which was my goal, I kept the team to repeat for 1 more year. But then when the pandemic and the restrictions all started happening, I sold the hockey team in 2020. So I've been out of the game for 4 years. And I had this phone call yesterday at 12 with this particular owner. And you have to understand, it takes a very special type of entrepreneur to run one of these hockey teams. You have to know that business. And you have to be willing to put in the 80, 90 hours per week. It's no different than being an NFL coach or a college coach or running a business. You have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. But you also have to be an expert in recruiting. You have to be an expert in marketing. You have to be an expert in physical fitness. You have to do a lot of things. And you have to have a passion and an obsession for the young athletes that you're working with, because there's no real money in it. It's all about teaching these young men, how to become better people, and for a handful of them, how to acquire scholarships and make a life out of the sport of hockey. So I get this phone call. It's scheduled for 12 noon yesterday, and I was really excited to talk to this owner because I love talking about sports and I love talking about business. So eventually he calls me, and we had a great talk yesterday. We talked for an hour and 5 minutes about the entire operation. We talked about the league. We talked about all of, his budget, his plans. We talked about the roster. We talked about when he wanted to sell the team, all of the potential things. But I had already decided before the phone rang that I was no longer interested in this deal. Well, you would say, well, why, Michael, you're not interested in this deal? I had already decided before I took his phone call and went through the entire thing with him on the phone, because I was very interested in that information. I had decided that I was no longer interested in purchasing this team or this franchise. So what the hell had happened in 3 minutes that had turned me from a hot prospect, a hot buyer, a potential buyer of a $1.1 million franchise? That would be a fair price for this particular team. $1.1 million, $1 million, $2 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Not a lot of money, but a significant amount of money for a small junior hockey team franchise. It's one of the crown jewels of the entire country. What had happened in 3 minutes that turned Youre's relentless sour on the entire deal to the point of no return, where no matter how much time I enjoyed speaking with this man, he seemed like a real gentleman. We had a lot in common. The team is in excellent shape. It would be a good buy for me. There's a lot of boxes that it checked, and I enjoyed speaking to him for 65 minutes. What happened in those 3 minutes? Well, what happened in those 3 minutes is he was late for the phone call. He was 3 minutes late for our scheduled phone call. And I can just hear the snowflakes and the cupcakes now, and the people that, shrug almost everything off now in today's world. I can hear them bellowing, well, it was only 3 minutes, Michael. Is it worth losing a deal, a $1.1 million deal, over 3 minutes? If you rule by your principles like I do and your values, you're damn right it is worth losing a deal. And I'll tell you why. When I have a telephone call scheduled or a meeting call scheduled at 12 noon and somebody doesn't call until 12:03, it doesn't matter that it was only 3 minutes. It might as well have been 3 hours. Because as the great Dan Kennedy says and trained me over the years, if a person can't be on time, they can't be trusted. Get that in your head in 2024. If there's people in your world that can't be on time, whether it's vendors, whether it's accountants, employees, friends, family, children, spouse, whatever it is, whoever it is, if a person can't be on time, they can't be trusted. I have used this principle for over 20 years now in hockey, in coaching kids, in the insurance business, the barbershop business. I've used it in the consulting and coaching business. I've used it in my masterminds. I've used it in my home. I've used it with my 11-year-old daughter. I've used it with volunteers. I've used that for the last 20 years in my life as an iron-fisted rule. If you can't be on time, you can't be trusted. So I grew up in a home with a father who is the most punctual person that I've ever met. That's just a fact of life. If my dad has to be somewhere in business, if he had to be somewhere at 9:30, he's there in his vehicle at 9 a.m. waiting with a 30-minute buffer. 30-minute buffer. And he walks in at exactly the time he's supposed to be there, prepared and ready to do business. Same thing when my dad's taking us somewhere, whether he was driving us to the ball field or to church or wherever we were going. If he said we were leaving at 11 a.m., you better be in the truck or the car at 11 a.m. because he's ready to go and he's leaving. He's not waiting around for anybody that can't be punctual. So I have a very good and strong role model in that area. He's a guy who can be trusted because he's punctual. And it's amazing in business, I noticed how my dad grew in the eyes of our clients. And he dealt with the high-end clients, the big farms, the big commercial properties. And when my dad would walk into somebody's place, 30 seconds early, dressed in a suit and tie, prepared, rested, mentally focused, present, it just the respect that he commanded because he was punctual. The respect that he commanded because he was punctual. Do you know in today's world, in 2024, the average American and the average Canadian, most of the people around you, by the way, are average. That's just the way it is, okay? Don't tell me any different. Most of the people in your world are average. The people you work with, the people you went to school with, maybe family members, maybe relatives. The people in your world are average. Most of the people are average. Average means they're entitled, they're selfish, and they're lazy. Those are the three main qualities of most North Americans now in 2024. Selfish, entitled, and lazy. Not qualities that anybody should be taking any pride in. But here's the thing. The average North American is now over 15 minutes late for most scheduled appointments. Think about that for a second when it comes to being selfish, being entitled, and being lazy. 15 minutes on average late for a dentist appointment, a doctor's appointment, a haircut, a meeting with the teacher, whatever it is, whatever the sport is, whatever it is. On average, 15 minutes. If that's not sloth, I don't know what is. If that's not entitlement, I don't know what is. If that's not selfishness, I don't know what that is. And if that isn't sheer laziness, mental and physical, I don't know what is. So here's the exciting part about all this for you as a badass, is you can do the exact opposite and stand out in a crowd of sameness. So if you make it a personal rule to be no less than 15 minutes early for everything that you do in a day. So you leave 15 minutes early for the gym, you leave 15 minutes early to be there 15 minutes early for school, you leave 15 minutes early for an appointment, you leave 15 minutes early minimum for any scheduled commitments that you have. You're always arriving 10 minutes, 15 minutes early. Do you know how much stress and anxiety and worry that'll take out of your life? All these people running around pretending that I'm so worried and I'm so stressed and I've got so much anxiety. No shit. You're late for everything. You're selfish, you're entitled, and you're lazy. And you have no abilities whatsoever to be punctual. So if you can't be on time, you can't be trusted. When I was in the hockey business, I would set the tone with my teams every single training camp. when we would have our very first meeting, the very first day of training camp, I would have something like 70 young athletes come in for testing, for medicals, and for a team meeting. And I would slam that door shut at 6:59 p.m., 1 minute to 7, and I would bolt it, and nobody was allowed to come in that meeting until it was over. So if you were 30 seconds late, or you were 5 minutes late, or your car broke down, or your dog ate your keys, whatever horse shit you were telling yourself, you were starting off the year in my bad books, almost unrecoverable. And I would have a meeting inside with the players that were punctual, that were on time, and that was how I set the tone. Anybody that was late was either scratched from training camp, removed from the lineup, and in most cases, maybe given a second chance, but it was the tone that was set. You never ever knock on a door. You never ever try to interrupt something that I've started, whether it's a meeting, a mastermind, whatever it is, once I've started on time. So in hockey, I'd have meetings before games. We would have video meetings. We would have all kinds of different short meetings, stand-up meetings. And every time it was the same. The door will close at 6:59. The door will close at 5:29. I always like the odd numbers to get them thinking. And when that door closes, you are officially late. And in the hockey business, I used to take it teaching these young men's ages 16 to 21. I used to take it to the next level to show them the harsh realities of not being punctual, not being trusted. I used to do random checks of when they arrive for the game. So I would call up my trainer on a game day and I'd say, listen, Tristan, I need you to go downstairs when the guys are arriving. They're supposed to be in the facility no later than 5:50 p.m. for the game. They got to walk in with their suits and ties at 5:50 p.m. I'm not there. I'm at home, and I've been at the rink all day. I'm still at home showering and eating. And she would literally stand down there with her clipboard, and as 23 players would come in, she would write down the time that they arrive. And she would also make a note of their dress code and the rest of it. Were they wearing a tie? Were they wearing what did they look like, and what time did they arrive? As soon as I got to the rink an hour later, she would hand me the list, and if there was anybody on there that had been late for the game, I would simply call them in the room in my office. Sometimes there would be none, sometimes there would be 2 or 3. This often happened at the first of the year. And I would just call them in one at a time and just say, you were late. I'm not interested in any excuses. You are a healthy scratch for tonight's game. You need to work out now with Tristan for an hour in the gym. An hour in the gym. Take off your suit, tie, put on your training clothes. We're going to do an hour in the gym, and then you're going to do an hour on the ice with Marc-Andre, skating, the old bag skate, 2 hours of training, get showered, put on your suit, and watch whatever's left of the game. That was their reward for being late. They did not play. They had to work out instead, on and off the ice, and then I don't think in all my years, 7 years was my last stretch, I don't remember once where one of my athletes was late twice in a row, meaning a second time during the year. Not once. So word like that spreads too, right? All through your team or your organization, whether you mean business or not. Same thing in my McLean Insurance Agency. I held what are infamously called stand-up meetings. I never held a sit-down meeting in my life. In the 17 years I was in charge of McLean Insurance, we had stand-up meetings, no chairs, no donuts, no coffee, none of that horse shit. When I would call them upstairs once a month, We would stand around, there'd be 23 of us up in the kitchen. I'd walk in, I would talk for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Here's the things that I liked, boom, 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 boom. Here's the things that we need to work on, boom, boom, boom. And then I would hand out the bonuses. The bonuses, the cash bonuses for people that had earned them, and for people that hadn't earned them, they didn't get anything. And that was my 5 or 6 minute meeting. And stand-up meetings, nothing else but that. And if a person was late, they didn't dare darken that kitchen door. They didn't dare try and weasel in, oh, I was on the phone, or oh, my brother was calling me, or somebody dropped in. None of that stuff. So I guess it all gets down to whatever standards you demand, whatever standards you tolerate, and what you tolerate, you're going to get more of that. So if you have people that are not punctual in your world right now, in your business or in your personal life, it's because you're tolerating it, right? But just like this $1 million team deal yesterday, I don't give it any thought whatsoever. This is a person, because they couldn't be on time, that I don't want to deal with. And any time I've ever gone back on that principle, like, it would be so simple. If I was a younger guy, I would have said, it's just 3 minutes, and he's a good guy, and he was busy, and he's running a company. And I can damn well tell you right now that something would go wrong with the deal. Something would be a surprise. He gave me the ultimate red flag by not being on time. So if I don't take that red flag and use it as the warning it is, then whose fault is it when I get my teeth kicked in later on in the deal? So 20 years ago, I would have forced this. I would have said, I would have went against my intuition and my golden gut, and I would have went ahead with the negotiation. Now at the stage in my career where I don't need a hockey team, I don't need another business, I don't need another thing to do, I just curate these people, these tomato cans out of my life. I literally use this rule as the ultimate way to curate these pretenders, these cupcakes, these excuse makers, and these do-nothings out of my world. Whether it's an employee, I don't have any employees that aren't punctual. I don't have anybody in my family that's not punctual. I don't have any vendors that aren't punctual. But it's taken me 25 years to curate and swift sword to get down to a handful of people. I have one business partner. I have a handful of allies. I have some vendors we work with who I pay a little bit more because they're punctual, they're dependable. And these are the only people that I allow in my world. And if any of them go lame, they're all on probation. I'm in a position now to swift sword them and cut the rope as well, because some of them will go lame on you even though they were punctual in the beginning. So if this is happening in your world and you have a whole bunch of people around you that can't be punctual, that means you have a whole bunch of people around you that can't be trusted. I'm taking a pickleball clinic here in Naples every Monday night, and the coach, I drop off my daughter at 5 o'clock yesterday because she's in the first session, and everybody's late but my daughter. It's 1 hour a week and everybody's fucking late. And I just blame the entitled and the lazy and the selfish parents. They all come in, they're all bent out of shape, they're all stressed, they're on their iPhones, and here they push the kid through the door, and here it is, 7 minutes past 5. And I told the pro yesterday, I said, just start. So my daughter yesterday got 7 minutes of one-on-one instruction. She hit about 50 balls in a row because every other kid, all 7 of the other kids were late. And I do not blame kids that are 10 years old, 8 years old, but those parents are just setting an example of entitlement, of selfishness, and of sheer laziness. And it also sets an example that you don't respect the other person's time. It's really an issue about respect. So when somebody was late for work, or somebody's late for the game, or somebody's late with your printing your newsletter, or somebody's late, with a copywriting deadline, all it says is that you don't respect the person's time when you show up late. And it also means that whatever you're doing, scrolling on your phone, sleeping late, whatever it is, it's just more important than the job at hand. That's what you're selling to the world. That's what you're selling to people. That's what you're selling to the universe, is that whatever you're doing is more important than this, and that you don't really respect the other person's time. I curate those low IQ people. I curate those sloths out of my life. I curate those people that I can't trust and I know are going to drop the ball when it matters. So it's really interesting. You see it in the school system now, you have it, you can't, the kids are late for school every day if the parents are dropping them off. Dentists, I have a friend who runs a dentist clinic, beautiful practice. And she says to me last year, she's like, Michael, oh my God. She says the average person, she says we have something like 16% no-shows, and we have almost everybody is late for their appointment. Same for, anybody that's in the barbershop business or the chiropractic business. You have no-shows and you have people late, which throws the whole schedule off. And I said to her, I gave her my tough medicine. I said, well, whose fault is that? I said, you're getting that because you're tolerating that. You're getting that because you're not, you're tolerating that, and you're going to get even more of it. I said, all you have to do is what we did in the barbershop, which is we only take scheduled appointments with a deposit, with a $50 deposit. And if the person is 1 minute late, we have the $50 deposit, which is non-renewable. They all pay it. And your appointment is immediately canceled, and you can try to reschedule it if you want. But we've got the $50 or the $100. If I was in the dentist business, it'd be $250 deposit for an appointment. So if somebody can't be there on time, they won't be there on time, you have a deposit. I said, this will bring your no-show rate to zero. I don't care if it's $50. I don't care if it was $5. When you have a non-refundable deposit, you're going to have everybody take you seriously. And if anybody's late, you can instantly cancel them and curate them out. And you've got the money that protected those 5, 10, 15 minutes. That was my tough medicine. That sheet, of course, is an unwelcome advice. And she ended up selling her practice a year ago because basically her clients just wore her out. Self-inflicted. So any business I've been in, punctuality is number one. It's the first thing I talk about with a new employee. It's the first thing I talked about with my hockey players. It's the first thing I talked about, when I'm teaching business owners. If you can't be on time, you cannot be trusted. So it's actually one of my rules, my 25 badass rules in this badass book that I wrote a year and a half ago. And my book is titled, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and in Life. You want to know how to not get your ass kicked in business and life and start living life and doing business on your own terms? Number one thing, numero uno thing, be the most punctual person that you know. Be my dad. Be 20 minutes early for everything. Be the most punctual person that you know. So this book here is my 25, it's a physical print book. It's a tree killing book. There's no digital copy. There's no go fetch PDF or any of that stuff. It's a physical print book that you can purchase and I throw in one of these nice black badass t-shirts that I have underneath this sweatshirt. You would think here in Southwest Florida, the temperature this morning was in the mid 40s, and you would think that polar bears were soon to be roaming the streets of Naples. It was, I call it Florida chilly. They're just like, oh my God, it's so cold. I'm like, it's 50 degrees and it's gonna be 60. So with this book, it's 300 pages. It's my 25 rules for living life and doing business on your own terms. And one of the key rules is how to become the most punctual person that you know. If you follow and implement these 25 rules into your life, these habits, these maxims, these non-negotiables, these 25 rules into your life, I'm telling you right now, you're going to become so much more free, so much more independent, so much more in control. You're going to embrace autonomy. And for me, I wrote this book because my North Star is what? My North Star is personal sovereignty. Doing what, where I want, when I want, at the price I want, with the people I want, on the terms that I want. And that's what this righteous book will teach you to do. I'll warn you right now, it's expensive. I used to sell it for less, but it's $100 for this physical book. I ship it right to your doorstep, and I include one of those awesome black, it says badass on the front of the t-shirt. I wear them for walking and going to the gym. And on the back of the t-shirt, it says be relentless. So I'll throw that in as a free gift. To get your copy, $100. That's pocket change. That's pocket change in the scheme of things. The reason I increased the price after the initial launch is I want people to be serious. I want people that are invested in something, because the reality is this: the more you pay, the more you'll pay attention. So the more money we have invested, in something, whether it's a book, whether it's a report, whether it's a mastermind, the more we pay attention. So that's a critical component when it comes to getting people to invest in things. It's $100 priced, so-called expensive on purpose. But then when I throw in that $70 training t-shirt, really, I'm not making any money on this by the time I ship it. But if you're new to this world, if you just fell off the turnip truck into my badass world, this is number one besides watching these free daily videos. NoBullBook.com. That's N-O-Bull, B-U-L-L, book.com. NoBullBook.com. Get your print copy. You can also buy your audio. But like I said, I don't do digital with this book, and I don't do PDF. It's a real book. It's a real shirt. And you can buy the audio if you choose at NoBullBook.com. Just remember, set a goal this year in 2024 to be the most punctual person you know. If you set a goal and a standard, non-negotiable standard, to become the most punctual person you know, automatically you separate yourself from everybody else. You separate yourself from the average, the ordinary, and the mediocre around you. You become the most trustworthy. You become the most dependable. You become the most likable. And a person who's on time is a person who can be trusted. A person who can't be punctual can't be trusted. And it all comes down to that decision on what you're going to tolerate in your life. In 2024, become the most punctual person that you know of. NoBullBook.com, and I'll ship a free Be Relentless Badass t-shirt with it as well. NoBullBook.com. The link is below. Like my dad says, the best is yet to come. Like I said, we're just getting started here. 2 words that change my life, and 2 words that can change yours. Be relentless.